Hello, welcome back to True Crime One channel. To returning subscribers, you are so much loved. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe if you've not done so. Today we will be looking into a very sympathetic story. In the grimy, coal-streaked streets of post-Civil War New York, survival was a daily negotiation. Horse-drawn carts clattered through the alleys, tenement windows flickered with gaslight, and children, too many children, were born into a world that offered them little more than hard labor and harder silence. It was in this world in 1864 that Mary Ellen Wilson was born. Her birth was not celebrated. There was no soft cradle, no cooing lullabies. Her father died shortly after her birth, leaving her mother, Frances, overwhelmed and destitute, with no work, no family support, and no recourse. Frances made a decision that has echoed in history. She entrusted her baby to the Department of Charities, believing, as many did at the time, that this would lead to a better life for her daughter. But systems, like people, have cracks, and Mary Ellen slipped through them. At only 18 months old, she was given into the custody of Mary Connolly, a woman who, according to the official documents, was a suitable guardian. But those documents were forged. There was no vetting, no monitoring. In the eyes of the state, Mary Ellen vanished, and in that vanishing, a nightmare began. For nearly 8 years, Mary Ellen existed inside the narrow walls of a filthy apartment in Hell's Kitchen, then one of the most dangerous, lawless neighborhoods in America. The building was made of soot-darkened brick, with broken shutters and iron fire escapes that twisted like skeletal arms. Inside, the air was stale with smoke, mildew, and something worse: fear. Mary Connolly, her so-called guardian, did not see a child. She saw property. She saw something to dominate, punish, control. There was no affection, no kindness, no reason. There was only violence and silence. Mary Ellen was never allowed to speak unless spoken to, never allowed to leave the apartment, never allowed to play or smile or cry out. The rare neighbors who passed by their door heard thuds, low moans, and sometimes, on bad days, screams that rose for just a moment before being snuffed out like a candle. Her punishments were brutal and often unprovoked. If she made noise, she was whipped with a rawhide strap. If she didn't move fast enough, she was struck in the face. If she asked for food, she was denied it, and sometimes locked in a dark closet for hours, even days. Her meals were inconsistent scraps, old crusts, cold porridge. Nothing warm, nothing loving. Winter was worst. She had no shoes. Her feet were purple with cold. Her clothes were tattered and thin. Her skin cracked, bled, healed over with bruises. She had learned to stand still, to stay quiet, to hide inside herself. There were no toys, no books, no mirror, no sense of self. Mary Ellen was not living, she was surviving. And barely. Still, in her heart, the tiny flicker of a child remained. Somewhere behind her bruised skin and hollow eyes, there was still a little girl, yearning for a hug, a soft voice, a moment of peace. She didn't even know what love was, but she knew she needed something more than pain. That yearning was what caught the attention of a woman named Etta Wheeler, a church worker who visited the sick and elderly in tenement neighborhoods. One day she heard whispers about a child, pale, ghost-like, never seen outdoors, locked away in a room. At first she thought it might be an exaggeration, but something about the tone of the whispers stirred her instincts. Etta made excuses to visit the building, hoping for a glimpse. When she finally saw Mary Ellen, it was only for a few seconds, but it was enough. Mary Ellen was standing behind Mary Connolly, clutching a broken broomstick like a doll. Her eyes didn't meet Etta's. Her skin was covered in sores and bruises. Her hair was uneven and matted. Her mouth was closed tightly like she was afraid even to breathe. That image haunted Etta. She couldn't sleep, couldn't stop thinking about the child. She reported it to the city authorities, but they shrugged. There were no clear laws against what Mary Connolly was doing, not as long as she claimed to be the child's mother. The law didn't see abuse, while it saw parental rights, but Etta wouldn't let it go. She pleaded with friends, clergy, and eventually was led to Henry Bergh, a man who had founded the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Her argument was desperate but sharp. If you can protect a horse from being beaten, surely a child deserves at least the same mercy? Bergh agreed. He was a man of sharp principles and unshakable moral compass. Together with lawyer Elbridge Gerry, he launched an investigation, one that relied not on child welfare laws, but on the legal framework designed to protect animals from mistreatment. The day the authorities entered the apartment, it was nearly silent, except for the brittle creak of the floorboards. They found Mary Ellen curled in a corner of the room. Her body was thin and trembling. She flinched at the sound of male voices. When a hand reached for her, she did not pull away. She simply closed her eyes. She was removed that day. Doctors later documented her condition. In chilling detail, open wounds on her scalp, back, and arms, bruises in various stages of healing, emaciation, fearful withdrawal. The official report noted that she had never been to school, never interacted with other children, never experienced love. When she was brought into the courtroom to testify, the judge had to coax her into speaking. Her voice was almost a whisper. She spoke in fragments, not out of confusion, but because her vocabulary was stunted from years of silence. I do not want to go back. I get whipped. I have had no supper. She beats me with the whip. She burns me. She hits me on the head. The courtroom went silent. The jury needed no deliberation. Mary Connolly was found guilty of assault and sentenced to 1 year of hard labor, but even then, justice felt like a small word compared to the horror Mary Ellen had endured. Etta Wheeler took Mary Ellen into her home, and for the first time in her life, the little girl felt warmth. It wasn't instant. Healing wasn't a straight line. There were nightmares, panic attacks, mistrust. She would sometimes curl into a corner and cover her head when someone raised their voice, even gently. But over time, she began to come back. She was later adopted by Etta's family and raised in a small, quiet town far from the city. She lived a modest life. She married. She had 2 daughters. She never spoke publicly about what she endured, not in interviews, not in memoirs, not even to those closest to her. When she died in 1956 at the age of 92, it was said that she passed peacefully. But who can say what peace means for someone who had to learn from scratch what it even meant to be human? Some say she found healing. Others believe she lived a guarded life, always holding some part of herself back. The truth is, we don't know. What we do know is that her case became the catalyst for the creation of the first child protection agency in the United States, the New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. One small girl, forgotten by the system, overlooked by the world, changed the course of history simply by surviving. And yet, the question remains. Did Mary Ellen Wilson ever feel safe? Did she ever truly feel loved? Did the ghost of that room on West 41st Street ever let her go? Let's know your opinion in the comment section. Please subscribe to this channel. Thanks so much, for watching this video.